For over 100 years, the Salvation Army has relied on the support of volunteers in helping those destitute and forgotten overcome personal crisis and community tragedy. The ongoing partnership between the Salvation Army and its thousands of volunteers is one of the keys to the Army's success in its service to mankind. No greater a time is this true than in the event of a disaster. This strong bond gives body and soul to the Salvation Army's mission, serving the physical, social, economic, and most importantly, the spiritual needs of others.
You're about to enter a very exciting, stressful, anxious time. When you come on to be a volunteer at a disaster situation, you're involved in a very high level of activity and confusion at times. It's organized confusion, but nonetheless it's confusion. So you need to be prepared physically and emotionally and spiritually for the event prior to coming. The things that you're about to experience are, you can't imagine. TV certainly provides us many of the visual experiences, but once you start seeing things for yourself, adding the dimensions of hearing and of smell, it changes dramatically the impact, and each disaster has its own uniqueness. The smells of a flood are different than the sights of a hurricane, which is different from the mental anxiety of earthquakes. When you start dealing with the victims, when you start talking to them, seeing their emotions and their reactions, some of that will be conveyed to you. You need to be able to quietly talk to people, give them answers, be flexible. Things change moment for moment. Your task 1 minute may change the next minute. You started to pile food over here, and now you need to pile food over there, and they just told you you wanted it over here. That is going to occur. So you just need to go, as they say, with the flow, and expect the unexpected, and just be as responsive as you can, and understanding that the needs are being met. Every one of us knows when we've had too much. You need to listen to yourself. When everybody gets stressed out, they react different ways. And we know when we're starting to hit, I call it the wall. And when you start getting to that point, you need to let someone know. And when you're here, it's very important that you watch your diet, stay away from a lot of caffeines, a lot of sugars. Make sure that even though you're probably getting a lot of exercise, sometimes you need to find a quiet place and take a walk. It's very common to have perhaps some sleeplessness, even some dreams, some nightmares, those sorts of things. Again, this is the body's normal reaction to an abnormal event. I think you need to first understand what perhaps the victims are going through. Initially, after any event, any crisis, the adrenaline is going, and they're dealing with it, they're reacting to it. That can only last for approximately 48 hours. Between 48 and 72, the reality starts to hit. You're going to see expressions of high anxiety, then you're going to see denial that it occurred, then you're going to see anger, why did it happen to me? All these are very normal process. Victims will come to you with many demands. You will not be able to answer or to give them all that they request. We need to try and work together as a team. Teamwork is very important. All they need to know is, what do I need to do? Try as much as you can to solve their problem without pushing them away to somebody else. The children are probably the most stressed, and we need to pay particular attention to them. They will show signs, and the parents need to know this. They may revert to bedwetting. They may revert to just all of a sudden breaking in tears. They may have nightmares. Again, they're going through the same stressors that the adult victim is. The best thing is the calm attitude that you give off will be reflected back. People are going to be uptight, but if you can bring your voice level down just a little bit, look them straight in the eye, and just talk in a very calming voice and assure them that you will get somebody to them to meet their needs, it goes a long ways.
Come with an open mind. Be prepared to do whatever they need you to do, no matter what it is. If they want you helping them with canteens or cleaning up trash, you know, come with an open heart to do what they need you to do. It may not be what you want to do, but don't ever think that one job is any less important than the other job, because it's not. Whether you're making photocopies or cleaning restrooms or playing with the kids or just sitting and talking with an elderly person, anything. It doesn't matter. If you're out here and you're helping for the solution, then that's all that you need to do.
At time of disaster, Salvation Army makes available its facilities as well as other facilities to make sure that people can find shelter. If in fact the disaster is of such a magnitude that major numbers of people need sheltering, then the Salvation Army will expand that service into rather non-traditional efforts, such as tent cities where we would house people as well. Rest is a very difficult experience where people have had such loss. And in itself, it's a ministry to provide shelter and the kind of support that goes along with that shelter, such as the Salvation Army is able to provide. Volunteers directly participate in assisting people in locating their tent, as an example, making sure they're settled in, making sure they have some of the basic needs, such as a cot, pillow, a blanket, and simply responding with emotional support to people. There are a number of levels of service available to volunteers when it comes to the feeding program. There's the food preparation itself, which is a vital part of what we're doing. We also have to get that food out to people. There are two primary ways in which we do that. We do that at an on-site feeding area where volunteers would assist in the actual serving of those meals, and then through mobile canteens, taking food out to areas where people could not make it to a fixed site. Disaster assistance centers are operated by FEMA and allow for all agencies who are providing service to a disaster to be available under one roof to assist people at one time. The Salvation Army's role there and the volunteers' role would be to assist people with more material kinds of services, including special needs services. The Salvation Army is the primary recipient of material goods during a disaster period. And obviously there are needs to establish large warehouses to accommodate those kinds of donations. Volunteers are used in a variety of ways, unloading and loading trucks, oftentimes helping sorting goods, inventorying goods, and then obviously delivering goods to people, making sure those goods get into people's hands so that they can utilize them and assist them towards recovery. The Salvation Army has a very important disaster organizational plan that is really operated by volunteers themselves in the sense of who we call on to help us at this time. What's critical to us is that folks who come to join us and become a part of that team simply know that it's critical to follow the rules as they are, but that they're to protect the volunteers, but most importantly, they're there to assure us that people who need service will get service at the highest level possible. I think the biggest single question that people pose us with, how can I help? What can I do? And the real answer that we can respond with is be a volunteer. You can actualize what you're feeling and get not only satisfaction for yourself, but know that you're making a contribution that can make a real difference for the future.
I think the Salvation Army is awesome. I've never worked with a greater group of people.
Hand in hand, creating a chain of hope, the Salvation Army and its volunteers, pulling men, women, and children out of the trenches of disaster, partners in the war against despair and hopelessness, partners in building a better tomorrow.